Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I am making a couple of slimline Mother's Day card using this beautiful paper pack of slimline pattern papers from Maker Forte. I'll have a link to all of the products I used in the description box. These papers are double-sided and they're just beautiful, and I wanted to focus on those today. I'm also using this stamp set that talks about mothers, and it says Happy Mother's Day, and there's stepmothers and grandmothers. I'm making two cards today. They're both going to be 8.5 by 3.5. The first one, I took this beautiful pink flowered paper, and I used the extra piece left over for my 8.5 by 11 pink cardstock also from Maker Forte to create my base layer. I saved some time and did some die cutting with some slimline dies from my stash ahead of time, and I'm using a gray card base for my first card that I already had in my stash. I try to keep card bases ready to go. I put my card panel in my MISTI, and I'm going to use my anti-static bag in the corner. I'm going to do some heat bossing with the Happy Mother's Day down in the corner. I'm going to use the clear sticky ink from Maker Forte, and after I touched it, I decided to do the anti-static powder bag again. So I'll ink up my stamp. First, like to rub a new stamp with my fingers to condition it a little bit. Stamp it down 2 times. And these are just very simple cards that focus on the pattern paper and a sentiment and a little bit of embellishment. I'm going to use some black embossing powder. And I forgot a spoon, so I was just using my bone folder to put the embossing powder on my card panel, which worked pretty good. And I just wiped my the bone folder off of the cloth afterwards. And then I forgot my heat tool, so I had to go grab it. I'm moving to a new craft room, so my card station isn't set up properly, so we'll quickly heat set that. And I like to try to go underneath a little bit to keep it from blowing off right away while it's heating up, and then do the top to melt. And I was going to attempt to try to stamp it twice and emboss it twice so that the embossing powder is very smooth and a little more shiny, but I didn't quite get it lined up as much. Excuse my head. So in the end here, before I heat embossed it, I ended up wiping it all off. I tried, and I didn't like how it looked. I tried to brush off some of the extra, and it just wasn't working. So you'll see here that I tried to fix it, and I was just frustrated enough that I thought, oh, I better not. I first used my pokey tool because I didn't have a small paintbrush handy, and I was trying my best, and then I just decided to wipe it, and it didn't work. So I'm not fast enough to put the embossing powder on while it's hot, so here I am wiping off the card and just going to go with it. Look at the other side of that paper. Isn't it beautiful? These papers are double-sided. My glue was stuck, so I just grabbed another one. I always refill my little glue tubes with whatever glue I'm using at the time. I like to wipe the corners of the glue so that the corners stay down on my card panel. And then I'm going to put this on my pink card base. The pattern paper is used with a stitched rectangle, and the mat is used just with an unstitched rectangle. And I had embossing powder everywhere, so I had to wipe it all off. And I will glue my matted panel down to my slimline card base. Once again, putting the glue in the corners of my fingers so it doesn't ooze out, and doing my best to center it. And then I decided to add a sentiment in the inside of my card. I do not always do that. Sometimes I just save it till later if I'm making a generic card and I want it personalized. Sometimes I just don't. So I took the mom definition there. I was trying to decide which one. It's in the upper corner under my thumb there. And I'm going to stamp that down with some black ink from my stash. So they're just perfect. There's some stepmom sentiments, You're the best mom. Thanks for being an extra mom for me. I'm not exactly sure what all the wording was, but you get the idea. You can basically use this for mother-in-law, stepmom, a mom, a person who's like a mom to you, a grandma. So I've stamped that down a couple of times. And when I do sentiments, I like to just use my fingertips so I don't smush it and get a smushed sentiment. So I thought I'd do that two or three times just because it was a new stamp set and I needed the middle to be fixed here. I'll clean off my stamps and put my MISTI away and my stamp away, which I don't usually do till the end. And then I decided to grab some of the glitter for Maker Forte, and I'm going to use just a glue pen to, oh, there was a little schmutz on my card, so I just fixed that a little bit. I used a glue pen and some of the petals, and just quickly glued it on, dumped my glitter all over so that we'd have sparkle, and then I let it dry before I wiped it off to remove any excess glitter. So I'm just going to do that for a few minutes. In just a second, I'll grab some copy paper and then I can dump it on easier and it's a lot faster. Just continued glittering and adding glitter to different parts of the flower. And then that will complete this card. Very simple, but it's beautiful. And I'll have pictures at the end of both of my cards. And then I also have a link to my coordinating blog post down in the description box. Did a little cleaning up with the paintbrush and my towel, and then I decided to let it dry before I added any more pressure to it to brush off the glitter, let it dry completely. Clean up the glitter off my table because it gets everywhere. And then I'm going to start with this yellow patterned flower and another beautiful pattern on the other side. But like I said, I wanted the pattern paper to be the focal point. So this card is also from a stitched. And then here's a trick I like to do. My matte layer, it's a black. I used an alphabet die for my stash to cut out the word mom 3 times. And then nobody will ever see that below. So I will put the pattern paper card panel in my card base. I'm going to use the MOM just lightly lined up in my card, and I'm going to stamp the I love you from the sentiment stamp right below it in the sticky Maker Forte ink and cover it with the same black embossing powder. And after I heat set this is where you see I try to quickly, while it's hot, put more embossing powder on top, and it did not work. So I just brushed it off. I wasn't going to even attempt that again. So because the cardstock was so hot, it just stuck on. So I just brushed everything off with a dry paintbrush, and I'm going to keep practicing on that technique. So wipe off any extra embossing powder, and then I'm going to glue that down to my mat with some liquid glue. And here's my card panel, and it's 8.5 by 7.5, and I started to score it in the wrong spot. I realized that, so I had to fix it. I scored it at 3.5, and with my little score buddy, I just score a little bit, flip it over, score it a little bit, and then I just use the smooth end of my bone folder to crease it, and then it also I creased out enough of the extra score line I made that you'll never notice. But this card's most likely for my mom, and she never notices those things. She loves anything I make her. So glue down my panel, matted panel, to the front of my card base. And this card I actually left blank on the inside. And then I just used my glue eraser to erase any glue that was kind of stuck to the front of my panel. And then I'm going to take my die cut letters, MOM, and I don't know if you can see that, but that's the and I made them triple thick. I did 3 of them back together. I started with the, I glued up the M and the O, and then I put the O down first, and then tried to line up both M's so everything was even on my card in a straight line. My ruler wasn't handy, so I just used my bone folder, which helped in a pinch just to line it up straight. I always say I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, so I'm horrible at going up in the air, or things like that. So use my towel to push down any extra glue, and then I used the tweezers actually to go around the inside, the rainbow tweezers from Maker Forte to glue up any extra glue. And then I put my Misty on top to just hold that in place for a few minutes until it was set. Then I decided to just get some flat black pearls to accent around, and just kind of put some here and there. I probably about 5 of them or so, and that will finish off my card. I hope you enjoyed my card, and give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Do you make slimline cards? Do you ever use floral cards or pattern paper in your cards? Here's a look at both cards again together. And thank you for joining me. And if you'd like, please subscribe, hit the button. Thanks.